Andrei Chikatilo is considered one of the worst and most violent serial killers in Russia, not just because of the sheer number of crimes he committed, but due to the sadistic way he dealt with his victims, whether before or after killing them. What did Andrei do that made him one of the most infamous killers in history? Before I tell you that, let's take a look at his childhood. Andrei was born into a poor family living in a small village in the Ukrainian countryside. From birth, he suffered from hydrocephalus, causing health problems later on. His birth coincided with the Holodomor, a famine that swept through Ukraine, leading some people to resort to cannibalism to survive. As Andrei grew up, his mother told him about his older brother who disappeared during the famine, and the neighbors were the ones who ate him. With the brain disorder he was born with and the trauma of hearing about his brother's consumption, Andrei suffered from involuntary urination until the age of 12, leading to severe beatings from his parents. Before we continue, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video to receive updates on new content. Andrei's psychological problems escalated with the invasion of the Nazis into the Soviet Union, leading to his father joining the army and leaving his mother alone. Not only that, but the Nazis invaded the village, and his mother was subjected to rape in front of him. The rape not only had a psychological impact on him but also resulted in a pregnancy. Months later, Andrei had an illegitimate half-sister as a result of the rape. After 6 years of his father's absence, he returned home. Instead of being a source of security for Andrei, his father became the reason for the village's rejection of the entire family, considering the father a traitor who surrendered to the Nazis. Andrei consistently faced physical violence and bullying from those around him, growing up introverted and shy, especially around girls. At the age of 17, one of his sister's friends came to ask about her. No one was present but him, and he tried to harass the girl. Her screams made him try to brutally rape her. But he couldn't do that. From here he discovered his sexual weakness. Andrei moved with his sister to the city of Rostov. At that time, he finished his studies and worked as a teacher. He met one of his sister's friends and married her. Despite his sexual weakness, he fathered 2 children, a boy and a girl. His deviant behavior began to manifest in his harassment of children. His reputation at school started to deteriorate, leading to his expulsion. Moving from one school to another, similar incidents recurred, and his reputation worsened. He relocated to another city and permanently quit teaching in 1978. He settled in Shakhtai City, where one day he noticed a 9-year-old girl returning from school. Intrusive thoughts consumed him, and he approached her, engaging in conversation. Manipulating her, he lured her into the woods, attempting to assault her but failing. As the girl tried to escape, his rage erupted, and he stabbed her with a knife. With the first stab, he felt a perverse pleasure and proceeded to repeat the stabbings. With each stab, he felt a sexual thrill, an experience he had never felt before in his life. After days, the girl's body was found. Through investigations into the last sightings, they reached Andrei, where they found a shoe with bloodstains. Indeed, he was apprehended and charged. However, his wife testified that he was with her at the time of the crime. Consequently, he was released from the case, and he lived a very ordinary life for 3 years thereafter. His family claimed he was a good, loving father. In 1981, Andrei's sadistic desires reignited. He lured a 17-year-old girl into the forest. When he tried to rape her, she screamed like crazy. He filled her mouth with leaves to keep her quiet. He discovered that he had forgotten the knife, so he started using his teeth. He cut off parts of her body while she was still alive. He brought a long stick with which he opened her stomach and took out her entrails. He started eating parts of her body until she died from the severity of the torture. In a few months after that, he killed 7 victims, always choosing them from train and bus stations. His victims included both women and children of both genders. He chose his victims either from night girls or from homeless children. Andrei's murder pattern involved luring his victims into the woods, where he would kill them and then mutilate their bodies. He would open their abdomens, remove their organs, gouge out their eyes, and cut off their noses. Additionally, he would consume parts of their bodies. Some of his crimes were classified as sadistic and necrophilic, as he would rape some of the victims after killing them. In 1983, Andrei killed 5 more victims. The police began to suspect that a serial killer with a distinctive modus operandi was at large. A Moscow police team was formed, and a massive arrest campaign targeted anyone remotely suspected, leading to numerous detentions. In 1984, 15 new crimes occurred, confirming that the real killer was still at large. The police released all the suspects due to lack of evidence. Among the victims was a 10-year-old child. Witnesses saw Andrei with the killer before the child's death, providing the police with detailed descriptions of the murderer. However, he remained elusive. Andrei was arrested, not for murder but for theft from the store where he worked, and he was sentenced to a year in prison. After serving 3 months, he was released and resumed his criminal activities, murdering a woman and her daughter in one instance. The police, desperate to catch the killer, sought the help of a psychiatrist to profile him. The psychiatrist analyzed the information provided by the police and concluded that the perpetrator was a man aged 45 to 50, of average intelligence, likely married, and a sadist who derived pleasure from torturing victims to death. As most crimes occurred near crowded places such as train and bus stations, it was suggested that the killer likely had a job that allowed him to move around. The police circulated the killer's description among undercover agents, hoping to locate him. During this time, Andrei monitored everything written about him and temporarily halted his criminal activities in Rostov for 2 years, 1986 to 1987. Andrei committed only 3 crimes outside Rostov, causing the police to believe that the killer either stopped or died. However, he resurfaced in 1989, committing several more crimes. In 1990, Andrei killed a 22-year-old woman. A secret informant noticed him leaving the woods with stains on his shoes and clothes. Though the informant confronted him, there was no legal reason to arrest him, so he was allowed to go. However, the informant recorded his details. Upon discovering the body, the police reviewed the reports of secret informants, including the one who encountered Andrei. His name was familiar, and records showed his arrest in 1984 for harassment and suspicion in 1987. Andrei came under surveillance. During surveillance, it was observed that Andrei tried to communicate with children and ladies at bus stops and train stations. After a week of observation, Andrei was arrested, but there was no direct evidence against him. They enlisted a psychiatrist who approached him differently, leading to Andrei confessing to 36 murders in one session and 20 in another. He guided the police to 3 bodies they had not discovered. Andrei's trial was a significant event in Russia. He underwent a mental evaluation, confirming he was mentally sound. Due to the desire for revenge from the victims' families, he was heavily guarded during the trial. In October 1992, Andrei was sentenced to death for 52 murders. When the sentence was read, he reacted violently. He later appealed for clemency from President Boris Yeltsin, which was denied. On February 14, 1994, Andrei Chikatilo, the Rostov Ripper, was executed by firing squad. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments, and do you know the story of another serial killer like Andrei?